Okay, this is going to be part 2 of lesson 7 on layers, and we're going to be continuing where we left off before. So here we have our 4 layers that we started off with last time. And so now we're going to add on those next couple of steps. So let's see what we need to add next. So let's go ahead and add the star as our next layer. But you notice there's 2 colors in this star. Okay, so the star is actually pretty complicated if you wanted to recreate it exactly as it is in the Astros logo. Let's go ahead and do our best to see what we can do. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is go to the custom shape tool. So we're just going to go back to where our ellipse tool was and choose the custom shape tool, because in the custom shape tool, come up here to the top, you go to the shapes, okay, and we want to go here, we want to have all shapes. Okay, so now there's a whole bunch of shapes in here that weren't in here before. There should be a star that we can use. So that's the star from the custom shape tool, which I don't think we're going to use that star. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the polygon tool. So we have our 5 sides right here, but in order to make it a star, we need to make it a star. So over here on the options, and they'll go under the gear, we're going to make it a star, and then that's going to show us how much it's going to indent. So let's flip our color over to orange. Let's see what kind of star we get. You see the pink line, it's telling me if I'm straight up and down pretty much. Okay, that's not too bad. Okay, so I'm going to scooch it into place there. I'd say that's actually it, the right size that it's supposed to be. But we also have this lighter colored star. So the next thing I need to do to make my star right is I'm going to go ahead and, instead of it being a polygon, right, we need to go ahead and start with an R. We're going to what? Rasterize, right, our image. So we're going to go to Layer, Rasterize, Shape. Okay, and that rasterized our layer. So we're going to call this orange star. Okay, so now we need to make the lighter color orange star. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this layer, drag the orange star down into that layer, and this one is going to be light orange star. Get rid of this, just copy, call it light orange star. Now you notice it's still the same color orange, so we have to hide both of these layers, get our sampling eyedropper, right? And then I want to sample that lighter color orange. And then now we're going to use a tool we haven't used yet called the paint bucket. So first I'm going to bring that orange star back, and then I'm going to grab the paint bucket, just this tool right here. If you don't see it, it's under the gradient tool. Okay, and then, oops, don't want to do that. Undo. So edit, undo paint bucket. So my problem was I had the arrow pointing over here in the invisible part of that layer. I want the arrow pointing at the star. And now I have a lighter colored orange star. So how are we going to make these 2 stars look like this star right here? Okay. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to take that top star and we're just going to cut away the parts of it that we don't want to look like that. So I'm going to turn both of those layers on, and I'm going to go up here, and for the first cut I'm going to use the rectangular marquee tool. So I'm just going to draw an area like that. So I've selected this whole right hand side of the star, and now I'm just going to hit backspace on my keyboard, which will delete out anything inside of the selected area. Right? So there it is. Now, does that look like the other one yet? Not yet, right? So I need to cut this portion away right there. So what I'm going to do is use my polygon lasso because I want to make a straight line. All right. So let's see if I can try to get it lined up. All right. So it starts right here at the H. So that's where I'm going to make my first click. Right there at the H. And then it goes down through like that. I'm going to click over there. It doesn't matter where I click over here or over here, and I'm going to double click, and it's going to finish making that line all the way through. And now when I hit backspace, now I've deleted that whole area, and I can just click anywhere here. And now when I add my orange star, now it looks more like the orange star in the original logo. It's not perfect. I could go in and add some of these other highlights right here. Right, there's a highlight there and there's a highlight there. But for the purposes of this exercise, let's not get too complicated, right? For now, I think we're doing a pretty good job. All right. So now we need to, let's see what our whole logo looks like. That's not too bad, right? Making a pretty good looking logo here. Okay, so now the next step is going to be to make our H right there in the center. So, okay, so we're going to make a new layer up here on the top. So I just clicked on the little new layer page. And I'm not going to really need blue or orange anymore. So I'm going to get my eyedropper and select this white right there. Okay, that's the color I'm going to need now. I'm going to use the text tool. So I'm going to click on the text tool. And the font that I'm going to use is Rockwell. So I'm just going to, that's the closest one I could find. Rockwell Bold. Okay, and then I'm just going to type an H there. It's not perfect. It's not the exact same H. Right. Okay, so now I'm going to highlight it. And I'm going to grow this H by just clicking up here where it says 60 points. Yours might say some other number. And I'm just going to use my up arrow and just keep up arrowing it and look at my H down there at the bottom. Right? It's getting bigger. It's getting bigger. It's getting bigger. It's getting bigger. Okay. Let's see if it's, how close is it to the same size? Almost. A little bit bigger. All right. So I'm going to highlight it again. See if 110. Let's see how close it is. And notice I'm using my move tool to move it around. Oh, that's pretty close. I think that's about as close as I'm going to get. Okay. That's pretty darn close. Okay, so we're going to go with that. All right, now I want to give my H a little bit of a shadow, right, in the original. I'm tired of turning all these layers on and off. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my background layer and copy it, my layer 1, right, my reference layer. And I'm going to take this all the way to the top and put it on the top. So now it's on top. I can just turn it on and off and see the differences between mine and the one that I'm trying to make. Okay. So, all right. So now I need to put this little shadow on our letter. So again, I'm going to switch over to the blue. I'm going to grab my eyedropper again. I'm going to sample that shadow. Now, if you want to be 100% sure, what you want to do is take the magnifying glass and zoom in. Okay. And then we're going to take the eyedropper, make sure that we have that shadow there, nice good gray. Okay. And now I'm going to go back to the magnifying glass, and then I'm going to hit Alt on my keyboard and zoom back out until I see 100% over here in that corner. Okay. All right. go back to my text tool, the T, right? And then I'm going to highlight my H again. Okay. And then I'm going to come up here to layer style, and I want to put a drop shadow on my H, right? So I want that to be that gray color, so I'm going to click the color and come over here and get the gray. Okay. Now the direction of the shadow, you can see that it's coming from kind of above, and it's going to the bottom, and it's going to the right. So the angle, let's try this angle. Let's see if this is the right angle. Okay. And we're going to change that from blend mode from multiply to normal. And let's give it about 7 on the distance and maybe 10 pixels of shadow. Okay. Turn this layer off. Okay, so you see how it's kind of diffused. So let's edit our shadow. So I'm just going to click on drop shadow again over here in my layers panel. And I'm going to, let's see if we can make this more like darken. Let's see what we can do to fix this. Okay. So there we go. So if I make my size less, right, you see how it turns it more like an actual shadow. So I have my angle in the opposite direction. So let's turn the angle around. It goes the other way. Now we don't want so much distance between the letter and the shadow. So let's make that a little bit less. Okay. Let's try our opacity. Let's make our opacity 100%. That's the see-throughness of the shadow, is the opacity. We don't want it opaque. We want the shadow to be an actual shadow. Okay. Alright, so that's not too bad. It's not exactly like the original, but it's not too bad. So let's click OK. Alright. So I think we're doing pretty good for our second lesson. So there will be a third lesson to finish off all the letters. So this is going to be Photoshop lesson 7.2. And when you finish this, your file, when you turn it, is going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 layers, not counting this layer right here. I'm going to call this layer the reference layer. Okay. And this, of course, named itself. It's a text layer. You can see the T right there, and you can see that it's an H, right? So we have 8 layers, counting layer 1, 1, 2, 3, 4 from their first lesson, and 1, 2, 3 new layers from lesson number 2, and not counting the reference layer. Okay. So when you save this, make sure you save it as your name and lesson 2. 7.2. It's going to stay a .psd because that's the only way that's going to keep all of its layers. All right. That's the end of lesson number 2.